Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 120th of Kouryer Podcast. I know it's been a bit of a delay between the episodes right now because my kind of there was some life events going on, and I kind of couldn't really focus on podcasting. But now, unfortunately, they're gone, so now I can focus again on podcasting, and there hopefully will be a lot of more episodes, in this winter. So, with that being said, let's jump into today's episode. Our today's guest is Mr. Stefano Gil. He's an illustrator and concept artist from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, with that quick introduction out of the way, let's just jump into the first question. Give
Okay.
us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design from the first place.
All right, let's go. First of all, thank you for having me. It's been great. I love podcasts, so um I don't know, like being in the other side, the guy that's recording feels great too. And let's go. How did I begin in this stuff? Um Cliche answer, but like any other kids, drawing was my thing, and I believe I kind of always knew that I was going to do that someday. Just never say that out loud, when you say it me becomes awkward. And so I start, but I believe that my first memories drawing was some anime stuff from Dragon Ball or Naruto that we have in open television here in Brazil. And my mom realized that, and as fast as possible just dropped me in manga classes, drawing manga classes we have near my city. So guy, this was the first time I started actually studying art. I was like 11 or 12, so pretty young, and I got some lucky to start really young. I believe that's the beginning, and the second part would be when I got 17 years old, that you have to choose a path, and here in Brazil, art is not really a path. You have to choose between architecture or graphic design if you are a guy who loves to draw. And it was weird because uh, we are in a podcast right now, and back in 2017, the 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 the, the thing that opened my eyes to actually work with art was a podcast. So good memories. There are podcast in Brazil named the Iconic Cast, and there were two hosts, Henrique Lira, which is an animation director here in Brazil, and Marco Alvarez, an amazing illustrator that I believe is working with Supercell in cinematic artworks, right? And one particular episode, they interviewed an artist I believe everybody knows. That is Mike Azevedo. He's amazing. He's a great artist, and Mike Azevedo has had a similar reality to mine, and he could make it happen without college, without many resources, just by searching online and stuff like that. So I believe that two steps introduced me into the visual arts and design industry.
All right, interesting. And of course, you already mentioned a bit. You answered my next question as well, which is were you originally studying art and design or you were pursuing another career path? Or let me rephrase my question since you can't answer
Okay.
this. When you were trying to choose your path at 17 or 18, as you said, were there any other like options or plans or doubts that maybe I should go pursue something else? Or from the get go, you just wanted to go art, and illustration?
Well, I was kind of insecure because uh, I didn't have that much approval from the society in general. So I decided to do graphic design in the south of the country, another state from mine that had some great colleges out there. I was actually studying for it. In Brazil, we have I believe in other countries too, but we have an really big task that you do when you're about to enter in college. So you see which college you're going to. And I studied a lot for this task to do graphic design. And fortunately, I know that's fortunately right now, but I didn't pass. So I had this 1 year gap in my life that I wasn't working and wasn't studying, and that I could think about what way to go and what to do. And the only answer I could find was art. So I guess it wasn't really hard, you know. it was basically this way.
All right, awesome. I completely understand what you mean by those tests because we have it in Turkey, Iran, like basically this area as well. You need to do an university entrance exam, and it's super stressful. And
Yeah.
I just want to don't get into it. It's too much, but it
Okay.
brings up too much bad memories. All right,
Yeah, yeah, bad
but
memories.
yeah, you know, the people who are listening to the podcast, probably a majority of them who are like from Iran, my own home country, they understand
Oh,
what we're
great,
talking about.
great, great. Hello,
And
Iran.
all right, so let's jump into some, you know, specialized questions like, what is
Okay.
your main branch of design that you're focusing on right now, and tell us about your experience from the start of it until now.
Well, my main branch is illustration, especially card game illustration, which I've been working for 2 or 3 years, and it's great because it teaches me how to make an image clear and easy readable. Because you have to, are playing cards and you see on each illustration for every second, minute, so have to quickly understand what's going on in the illustration, and in order to make a sense to the description of the card. And it helped me to think about uh, more about composition and stuff like that, easily readable values and clear colors. You have to make things work, you know, and that's been 2 years right now. I started in 2019. Actually, it's 2022. That's crazy. So it's been almost 3 years. Um, but well, I'm 21 now, so it's not been that much experience and still figuring out and learning. And I believe that is just another step of my art career. And then I'm probably going to go to some other areas. I really like 2D game art, like developing props and stuff that's going to be used in the game. And I hadn't had the opportunity to do that yet, but I hope someday. Concept art is also something I would like to explore more, and all the other stuff. I mean, this art industry is giant, and you can go to many other ways. So yeah, just figuring it out.
Right. And how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a project? Like, what does a pipeline and the structure of your work usually looks like?
Okay. Um, I always try to begin with a lot of research, and maybe spend a few hours, if possible, a few days, just researching, not necessarily getting images, but thinking and watching for movies, series, things to get me inspired and gives me a clear idea, or at least a great idea of where I'm going to. Um, and that includes like how the final image is going to look. I like to make everything really prepared because I'm not really a good guy talking about improvising and stuff like that. After that big research, I do some loose sketches. Those are great because I believe that's the most important part of the design process, to explore in the drawing itself. After I find a good drawing, I go to a very detailed line art. As I said, I'm not good in improvising, so I like to make everything well planned before I start painting itself. And then flat colors and final render, which are more little bit more mechanical steps, I would say.
All right. And do you do all the renders and everything on Photoshop, I assume, or
Yeah,
you use
Photoshop.
another thing?
Everything in Photoshop. Maybe the first steps of exploration can do some digital traditional stuff in the notebook, but it's on Photoshop mainly.
All right, interesting. By the way, for anyone who might, you know, I apologize because one of my neighbors usually starts singing loudly. So if you
Don't worry
hear
about
her,
that.
I'm sorry.
It's great. It's
It's
great. I like to hear some music.
yeah, it gets awkward after a while because everyone starts shouting and swearing, and you know, it doesn't get so positive.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right. So Next question, which is a new question recently added to like my repertoire of my questions that I ask people,
Okay.
which is, what was the first art job paycheck you ever got, and what was it for, and how did you feel at the time when you got it?
God, let's remember this. I believe when I was 10 or 11, there was a guy in my class that asked me an Assassin's Creed drawing of Ezio, and he gave me like 2 reais, which means 40 cents dollar. It's basically nothing. But I was so super happy to draw something for money and buy some snacks after it because guy, I'm just a kid, you know. When you're a kid, you don't need much to believe. It was really great. I remember his name. It was Gabriel. I remember everything. Um, but it's not really a real job. Um, I believe the first real job comes when I was 18 or so, or 16, 17. I don't know, something around. And I did like a commission for a couple of friends of mine, and I got like 100 reais, like $20. And the fun fact is that they broke up a week after the drawing, so probably the drawing was really really bad. But I felt amazing. I felt like that little spark of hope that okay, it might work. I might work with drawing someday because I'm starting it. You know,
Wow, quite a story. Like, after getting a commission a week later, they break up.
it's crazy,
Jesus.
right?
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Gabriel and going to art school and everything, and talk about a little bit about Brazil and how
Okay, great.
the whole situation is there is, because I'm actually kind of like curious, like how is the industry right now in Brazil compared to like when you were a kid, how has it grown?
Okay. Um. Well, digital industry is new in the whole world. Digital stuff been developed, but I believe in Brazil things are even newest. We can name the pioneers from Brazil have like 10 years of experiences or even less. So quite something really new. And I'm 21. I started when I was 17, and I can actually see a change. And it's great because we don't have that much structure, you know. We don't have that resources for people. We barely have art schools, but they are starting to come. And there are some amazing artists coming from Brazil that inspires me a lot. Can name a few of them, and I'm really excited to the changes that are coming. Uh, you know, uh, I've been because I believe in Iran has maybe a similar uh, things in a similar way, but we kind of understand society kind of understand that the future of everyone who wants to have a great future is doing some college and going through some traditional stuff like um, accounting or law or anything. And when you don't have these things in the college, when you don't have art in the college, you kind of understand, like I mentioned before, that art's not really a path you have to follow. And I believe things are starting to change really hard. And with some English schools coming here, coming from Brazil, yeah, not quite sure if you know IBAC, but is a I believe it's a United Kingdom school that came to Brazil and are teaching art, concept art, and animation and stuff like that. So, well, I'm really excited. I wish I had these options 4 years ago when I was choosing, but it's great that other people are having, you know. So just feel happy for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by the way, it's kind of gonna sound a bit weird, but I think Iran is an exception. Like, I mean,
Oh,
what you
really?
said about
Great, great.
Brazil, like, listen, what you said about Brazil, it's kind of like applies even to Iran, like to 50-60% of the situations right now.
Okay.
But surprisingly, in terms of like online businesses and stuff like that, and like people themselves have really, got their shoelaces, grab their shoelaces themselves and like progress a lot, even especially in digital and concept art. Iran is
Oh, that's
super
great.
advanced
That's
compared to
amazing.
listen, I didn't know. I thought, because all right, I'm Iranian, the Instagram algorithm is gonna push like Iranian artists to me, natural. And I
Yeah,
was, and when I like talked a bit with my Turkish friends and people from other places that I spoke to on the podcast, I was kind of
yeah,
shocked. I was like, wait, really? Like I didn't know.
yeah, yeah. Well, wow, that's great news. I didn't
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah, I didn't know for a long time either. I thought I'm just seeing so many right now artists because of the algorithm.
Yeah, 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 totally. But that's great.
Yeah,
Well, I hope
and
Brazil follows the same way someday.
yeah, actually, I think that South America is actually surprisingly going really strong when it comes to art. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of interesting because Turkey, in terms of like being a more international country, is way more better off than Iran. Like, definitely, but it's way like behind in terms of art. I
yeah,
think it's mostly a cultural thing. Like, it needs to
yeah. So,
slowly develop. You know what I mean?
hmm I know, I know. Yeah, yeah. So has great impact.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of amazing artists from South America. Like, I had some on podcasts. Like, there was Mariana Salimena. She's now a concert artist as Mojang. She's Brazilian as well. There
Great,
was
great.
Diego Lucia. He's not Brazilian. I think he was Argentinian, but he's an
Yeah.
amazing
So
artist as well. I think you know him as well. Diego
yeah, yeah. I
Lucia,
know.
and super good, chill guy, humble guy, and
Great,
love
great.
talking with him. And like, there's so many on the podcast that I like. I'm kind of having a hard time to remember, but you get
Yeah,
the point.
that's great.
And speaking of artists, let's jump into a really interesting question, which
All
is
right.
who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Okay, let's go for it. Mm, that question would have different answers depending on when and consider like when I started, I could name Eduardo de Oliveira and Omar Garcia. They were my professors, teachers. I don't know in manga classes, and they are amazing comic book artists. I couldn't name them. I couldn't not name them. But actually, I have some Brazilian guys that inspire me a lot. Like Mike Azevedo is a name I mentioned before. I have Rafael Zanquetin, which is an artist that's working for Blizzard, if I'm not wrong. And Caroline Gariba, it's an amazing girl. She developed some lovable characters. And Max Greek as well, Sweden guy. He's amazing. Um, but those are more close to what I develop, I guess. Uh, I got some references that are a bit different to what I do, but that they are important to me. I can name Lion Decker, Norman Rockwell, and Moebius. Moebius has some crazy colors and crazy designs. I love this guy. And well, I could spend the whole podcast, 40 minutes, 5 minutes, just naming naming artists, but I guess it's enough. This is
All right, fair enough. And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, if there's something that there's an NDA involved, we can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, what are you working on right now? What you doing?
oh my god, that's a tricky question. Would love to answer that. Fortunately, I can't speak about what I'm working, and I'm working only on one project, so probably going to skip that question. But something I ever dreamed of, and I feel realize it, and it's been great. So that's all I can say.
All right, awesome, fair enough. And all right, let's take a break from all these art questions. Let's jump into some fun questions.
All right, let's go.
All right. Imagine that in terms of money, time, and resources and everything, you were set. You didn't have to worry about anything. What would you do at that point? Like, what aspirations and goals do you have? Long term aspirations you have that you want to do in your life? Like, it could be learning something else than art. It could be doing anything. Like, what objective and goal do you have in life? That you would want to do if everything was set.
Okay. I believe that it's a bit because of where I live, but I would like to make art something really. Jesus, I don't know the name for that in English, but something that everyone has access to. And there's some English, some drawing stuff here in Brazil, but they are really expensive, really, really expensive. So make every. I believe the art knowledge should be for free for everyone. So if I have like a lot of money and don't have to worry about working anymore. You're probably going to teach for free and start that move. I believe it's going to, I don't know, it's the start of something that other people will follow, and eventually we could make Brazil a country where the the knowledge is free for everyone. I mean art knowledge, which is my area. So I believe that's kind of the dream.
All
But
right.
it's hard to achieve. Maybe someday we can get into this direction. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that sounds amazing. I mean, I kind of have like the same goals when it comes to like knowledge in general, art and knowledge in general. I think one of the things that I philosophies I had in my heart when I started a podcast is I wanted to just gather this so many information from so many people and just let it out for free so people can just learn and
Yeah,
go. You know,
for sure. Because
and
we speak English, but 9% of Brazil do not. So and the content in English is huge, but the content in Portuguese is not that huge. So it's hard to compare.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And that the localization of just knowledge is also something that we should do as well,
For sure.
and that's a noble goal. All right, so we've reached the final questions of the podcast, which is called final words. And all
Final
right,
words.
yeah, all right, it kind of sounds dramatic, I know, sorry. But
Yeah,
let me
for sure.
yeah,
I
let me
love dramatic.
explain.
Okay.
And all right, so imagine that you had a limited amount of time, and in those limited amount of time, it could be 4 or 5 minutes, whatever, just a limited amount of time. Take that in mind, all right? And you could say or leave any message as a human to another human being who might be listening to this podcast in the future. It might be a week later, it might be 2 3 weeks later, someone's listening, a year, month, 10 years, 20 years, who knows, just any point in future.
Okay.
If you could leave a message or any messages as a human to another human being in that situation, what would those be?
Okay. In that situation, I would say probably just try to be yourself. Um, we tend to find approval in other artists and try to be just like them. I had that phase. I believe everyone had that phase, and it's a phase. But I believe we can avoid it. We can try to develop the art that is inside of us, and everyone is different. Everyone has an unique story to tell because what you have to tell comes from our experiences. So just try to be yourself, do your art, do the art you like, and if you got really good at it and there's no space for you, you'll probably create space for you because and that's how things works. Everything had to be created for somebody before you jump into it. The all the art styles, the Disney art style, Hearthstone art style, the AAA games art style, it comes from somebody, and that somebody can be you if you be very um, original and
Authentic.
yeah, authentic. Yeah, exactly. I believe that. So just be yourself, have fun, and things eventually will go right.
All right, that sounds awesome. And thank you so much for coming by on this podcast. Where can people contact you if they had any questions? Would your Instagram be okay if I put that in the captions below?
Oh, it's Stefano Gil, just like my name. Uh,
Yeah, I put it in the caption. Don't worry, don't worry.
oh, okay, okay, okay.
All
Great,
right.
thank you.
So, all right. Thanks again for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in to listen to this episode. I hope you are having a fantastic New Year's holiday. And with that being said, till next episode, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, guys.